Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you? I'm...
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Nerdy Books. This is a show where we have spoiler-heavy discussions about a particular book we may have had the chance to read, and we also take the time to answer your questions from the writer of that particular book themselves. So in this case, we're going to be talking about Evolution Man Year 2, written by the incredible, who is our guest at this time. Please welcome of Stormgate Press, Charles F. Millhouse to the stage. Charles, welcome in, good sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. We're very thankful to have you here with us. Now, if this is your first time here, don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions about this book or anything incredible that Charles F. Millhouse has done over the course of his wonderful career, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Producer's going to be monitoring you guys throughout the course of this show. But before I share with you my spoiler-heavy thoughts on Evolution Man Year 2, I'm going to toss it over to the man himself, Charles F. Millhouse. How did the series known as Evolution Man come about, and what can readers expect to see or experience with Evolution Man Year 2?
Well, the idea of Evolution Man came from my love of the $6 Million Man. I knew I'd never get the rights to that property, so I decided that I was going to create my own. But I had to come up with an idea other than Bionics. But it's about Caden Wells, who is he's a thrill seeker. He likes to take chances with his life. And while he's climbing El Capitan in California, he falls. And the fall should have killed him. But luckily for Caden, his mother is a scientist, and she was able to save his life through technology. Of course, I advanced the technology a little bit, even though the story is set in 1975. I kind of want to make it retro, sort of like the $6 Million Man era of the television show. So that's where the idea came up. I wrote it because I wanted to fester my my love for that character. So I just kind of created my own.
Fantastic stuff. And also, let's see, we have some people already here with us in the chat. Sarah says, good evening. Hello, Sarah.
Sarah.
And Brian Robin goes on to say, good evening. Very excited about this episode. You two are both wonderful dudes.
Thanks, Brian.
Wow. That's very nice of you to say. Brian Robbins, a good friend of the show, good friend of the network. So thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And then Sarah goes on to say, I've always spoke with you in the chat. I'm seeing you live now, going into listening mode. Oh boy. And then she goes on to say, Robin, rabbit. They're just being silly. Yep. Wonderful. So what can readers expect with Evolution Man Year 2? What's been going on with Caden Wells and company?
Well, Caden Wells and now his partner, Kano Oshima, are part of a secret spy organization called Masquerade. And they use Caden, much like Steve Austin was used by the government to infiltrate evil organizations and try to bring them to justice. In Evolution Man Year 2, Caden has to face off against an old friend who he finds out is not really all that good of a guy. Don't want to give away too much of the plot, but the story does surround things that happened in 1976. So any of us old guys that lived in 1976 might remember certain, especially if they look at the cover, might recognize the train, and the story is surrounded around that train.
And it's a beautiful cover, by the way. Once again, I believe that was illustrated by the incredible Jeffrey Hayes of Plasma Fire Graphics. When the look of your book matters to you.
Exactly.
So, which, by the way, this is an amazing, amazing cover. He never disappoints. Every time Jeffrey Hayes, plasmafiregraphics.com, by the way, puts together a cover, they knock it out of the park.
Oh man, when I first threw the idea of Evolution Man to him, I hadn't even written the first word in the first book,
Mm-hmm.
and I gave him my idea, and it wasn't but a few hours later, he's coming back with a concept of what the cover should look like, and I'm going, "I haven't even written this book yet," but his covers always get me reinvigorated when it comes to writing, so every time I would hit a stump writing that first book, I would stop, look at his cover. So the same way, just about everything that he's done for me, he either gives me the cover before I write it or while I'm writing it, or he'll give me snippets of his art, which just juices me up a little bit. So, and I'm currently writing a Captain Hawklin novel, and he's doing the cover art for that and giving me little snippets, and he's posted some on Facebook. And yeah, it's going to be a great cover.
Man, awesome, tacular stuff. And some people are here chiming in the chat, and thank you for sharing that with us, Charles. Brian Rahman has a question here in the chat. He says, "Question for Charles: what genre have you not worked in that you would love to tackle eventually?"
Wow, let's see. I've done science fiction. I've done supernatural. Done pulp. Um, I've even written a comic book. It's a superhero book, not really a comic book, but a superhero book that I published several years ago. Gosh, there's not much that I haven't tried to tackle yet. I don't. I'm gonna steer away from romance. That's just not me. Uh, Maybe get into some hard horror. I'm not really getting into some really supernatural is my supernatural western, the new Kingdom Trilogy. Um, it's it's a, everybody that's read it's a fun. They believe it's a fun story. I think it's a fun story, but it's not too dark, too gory. That might be something I might be interested in getting into.
Wonderful, wonderful. Look forward to that when it does come about. Sarah says, "My sister was born in '76. I'm 4 years younger." Laughing out loud. Mm, mm. Then Bobby Nash. Oh, Bobby Nash. Bobby Nash. Look
Hey,
at
Bobby.
you. Bobby's in the building. He says, "Evolution Man is a great read." You're right
Thanks,
about
Bobby.
that. It's
That's a
incredibly.
big compliment right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Sarah goes
Bobby
on to say, "Jeffrey Hayes is amazing." Oh, sorry, Charles. What were you gonna say?
Bobby wrote the foreword to the first Evolution Man. So I wanted to have his take on it, and I'm glad he really enjoyed it. Otherwise, I hate to have seen that forward. So
Yeah. There you go. And Bobby goes on to say, "Seconded. Jeffrey Hayes is amazing." Yep. Clouds of
definitely.
Fire graphics. Hmm. Then Sarah goes on to say, "Huh?" Something says, "Send 200 stars to your comment here." What on earth is that? I'm not 100% sure. I've seen it on other people's social media pages of Facebook. Sarah, if you want to send us 200 stars to say that you really like us that much, feel free to do so. Don't think it charges you anything. I don't think so. But then again, you can always Google the answer because, like I said, I'm not the not the smartest person in the room. Brian Rahman says, "Wait a minute, Charles, you wrote a superhero Western trilogy." Scurries over to Amazon.
Yeah, it's called the New Kingdom Trilogy. It's 3 books. It's actually one of my best sellers when it comes to doing shows. Um, so I always try to keep that on my table when I do shows because people really like it. And I'm very happy with it. So
There you go. And then Sarah goes on to say, "Wow, Nevermorians are coming together." Yeah. I haven't heard that term in a long time. Nevermorians. Oh my
everyone's
gosh. Haven't heard that one in a while. And then Sarah says, "So much for going into my listening mode." Just uh
keep them
well,
coming, Sarah. Keep them coming.
honestly, and for once again, for those of you just join us, whether you're joining us live or on the replay, this is Nerdy Books, where we have spoiler-heavy discussions about a particular book I've had the chance to read, and we also do our best to have the writer of that particular book on here with us to answer questions that you, the viewer or listener, send in and all that good stuff. If this is your first time, don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know, and we appreciate all of you for being here. With that being said, so I've had a chance to sit down and I've read from beginning to end Evolution Man Year 2 because I read the first one, hence the reason I'm wearing this shirt. Because Evolution Man was such an incredible adventure, sci-fi-ish type story that I was looking forward to seeing what would happen next, right? So Evolution Man Year 2, I got to tell you, reading this book, And for those of you who have read the book, feel free to let us know in the comments or the chat if you felt this way. When I was reading this, Charles, I got some Point Break vibes from this book, which is an action movie that came out in 1991 AD, starring who doesn't seem to age, Keanu Reeves, and the late great Patrick Swayze. So, are you familiar with Point Break at all?
Oh yeah, I've seen that many times.
Okay, okay. So in that story, Johnny Utah, played by who Keanu Reeves, he goes undercover to find out who's robbing these banks and all that kind of stuff with a group of surfers that just happens to be led by Bodie, which in this case is Patrick Swayze, who, my gosh, he delivered in that role, folks. So I got Point Break vibes. I got a little bit of, yes, I haven't, granted, I haven't seen a full length episode, but I've seen pictures, I've seen promos and things of that nature of Bionic Woman and, $6 million man and stuff like that. So reading this story, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it because not only of the undercover aspect of it, but Caden has to reluctantly, he's undercover. So he goes undercover with Tour de Frantic, which are a group of thrill seekers led by Adam, former friend of Caden's, and he has to work his way back into the group. And there's a love interest there that, they were together and then they weren't, he left, and that was kind of his way of breaking it off with her, even though he didn't really break it off with her the way he probably should have. Right. So there's undercover work. There's, trying to repair damage from past relationships. So there's a bit of a, rebuilding things, trying to bury the hatchet, I guess, in a way. But I love the action sequence. When I'm reading this, I'm imagining this, because this is the beauty of books, using your imagination to its full advantage, right? So when I'm picturing this stuff in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, doing these insane. And by the way, the train sequences, oh my gosh. I mean, Caden has to go in there, take down Adam, take down the organization, take down this, object that just happens to be on the train. He wants to defuse it, get rid of this, save the people on the train, defuse the situation, and then some. And man, this was such a great character piece, and it's action packed. And you're going to get Point Break vibes when you're reading this. I think the secret that was revealed at the very once again, this is a spoiler heavy review. So if you don't want to know what happens in Evolution Man Year 2, cover thy ears. At the end of the book, where Kano is brought in and finds out who's been helping Caden with, his readings and the computer stuff that Kano doesn't have access to.
Yeah.
His mom's not dead.
Right.
Because we were under the impression that she was gone. She was dead. She was killed in the first book. And when Caden is working with, Masquerade and all this, and, his boss is a bit sturdy, doesn't want to break too many rules, but he's willing to bend the rules to help Caden out, because Caden's doing his best to do his job. But at the same time, you got to be willing to cross some lines. But when Kano's brought in at the very end to find out, hey, his mom isn't dead. She's the one who's been, keeping an eye on him and, keeping an eye on the nanites and all this other stuff. I thought, okay.
And now,
what's Caden going to do when he finds out?
Yeah, and Kano's got to live with that secret now. He's got to work with Caden and try to keep that from him. And then, of course, during the course of the year 2, there's a little bit of Randolph Devereaux stuff going on from the character from the first book. And he's trying to, he's still trying to catch Devereaux because he believes that he killed his mother. So now he's on this vendetta. Plus, he's reluctantly working with the government so he can have the resources to find Randolph Devereaux.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. There's secrets beyond secrets. People are trying to figure out who's doing what, and obviously Caden's on a bit of a search for vengeance and a little bit of payback, because his love interest in the first book is now working with the bad guy. Yeah. Thinks his mom's dead. Mom turns out to be alive. He doesn't try to get back together with Adam's love interest in this book, which is Evolution Man Year 2, specifically with it's Sarah, if I'm remembering that right.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, he's not trying to get back together with her. He's just trying to patch things up and say, look, I did stuff that I kind of regret. I mean, and her being not only is she roped into this, working alongside Adam, but she's a bit of a victim too, because I think deep down she knew this wasn't the right thing to do in terms of going after the train and taking hostages, whatever the situation was. But she didn't have anywhere else to go. She
Like she was lost after her brother was killed.
yeah, she didn't have anywhere to go, right?
Yeah.
She was kind of a lost puppy. She really needed direction. Now, granted, Adam's not the best person to ask for
Right.
direction, but oh man, like the vibes I got reading this novel were just awesome stuff. You know, I was getting Point Break. I was getting a bit of, I don't know if anyone remembers this show. It should have lasted a lot longer than it did. And Person of Interest, which was a show about a mysterious billionaire who can has a machine that predicts who people are going to become a victim or a perpetrator. And Jim Caviezel plays John Reese, who's assisting him in that matter. So basically, John Reese is like going undercover and doing all this stuff, but he gets enough information for him to work with. But at the same time, you know, Harold Finch, who's the character in Person of Interest, the TV show, was a crime drama. He's keeping secrets too. So he's not being totally honest with John, just like, you know, at Masquerade, they're not being completely honest with Caden about his mother still being alive. So
Right.
there's duplicity being played out here. And I really enjoyed the historical events and the backdrop with, you know, being at the bicentennial
Right.
events in America. You had the train. And by the way, that's a really good looking train on the cover. So you can picture that in your mind. And by the way, and I used to be into these things when I was much younger, and they were called trains. And one of the one of the trains that stood out for me as a kid was the Southern Pacific Daylight. And that train looks pretty much like the bicentennial train that was used for the cover of this particular novel, Evolution Man Year 2. Trains are, you know, I don't know if this is going to sound strange or not, but I think looking at certain trains are just beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the bicentennial train is an example of that. Would you agree?
Well, definitely. And during the bicentennial, there was actually two trains.
Oh,
There was the West Coast train and the East Coast train, and this was the West Coast from this cover. So Jeffrey sat down and did the research to find out which train it was used in that area. And I remember when I was a kid, the train came into Columbus, Ohio, and I got to go through that train. So I took a lot of the memories that I had from the things I saw in the train. And then there is an extensive video on YouTube. I love YouTube for stuff like this that shows the building of the train, the concept of it. It's a whole huge documentary about the train. Yeah, you should check it out.
Oh, I gotta check. Now I really gotta watch this. Now I really gotta see this. But yeah, overall, my experience with reading Evolution Man Year 2, loved it completely. I think it was. I love the first book. But this one, and this is not an easy thing for any writer to do, is when you put together a sequel and you ante up, you raise the stakes a little bit, you do a little bit more character development, and then you introduce some new threads to the plot, or you introduce new characters, whatever the case may be. It's a difficult thing to do in balance, but I thought this book and your writing did it incredibly well. So an incredible book. I gave it an honest review on Goodreads, which is an app you can download to your phone, or I think you can put it on your computer, whatever it may be. That's a place where you can catalog the books that you have read, or you can find books for you to read, and you can look for different genres. You can look for different indie writers or non-indie writers, publishers, that sort of deal. If you don't already have a Goodreads account, I strongly recommend that you get one and build yourself a library. If you read something, make a record of it. So then you can go back and you can say, oh, I've read this one, but then you have a list of books that you have not read yet. It's a way to keep yourself organized. So if no one's ever heard of that, please look it up. Goodreads, you can find it. It's there. But yeah, overall, Evolution Man Year 2, 5 stars out of 5. 5 stars out of 5. Loved it. Loved the historical backdrop, like some of the introduction of the new characters. I like some of the threads that you added in for good measure. I got massive Point Break vibes with people jumping out of perfectly good airplanes with parachutes. There's a heist. There are hostages being taken. There's a train, about to be about to blown up. All this sort of stuff. It's action packed. It's got suspense. It's got character development. It's got, if you want action, this book is going to give you that.
Yeah, my favorite chapter. Right, my favorite chapter of the book was chapter 10, because that was the scene where he's attacked in his home, and then he has to chase down the people that attacked him. And that's one of my favorite scenes I wrote in that book. And I was actually making
picture. I can't remember the person I pictured playing Caden Wells, but the person playing Sarah was it was, I believe, was either, I don't know if it was Sarah Paxton, but it was definitely like young actors, maybe Eliza Taylor from CW's The 100 could have played Sarah. I think she would have done a good job with it. And also the one playing Caden's mother, I picture Diane Lane playing that role, because Diane
Oh
Lane's
yeah,
been doing the, I mean, she's been an actress for years and years and years, and she's very good at playing motherly roles. If you've seen
yeah.
Man of Steel, and then she did the, vigilante movie with her on screen character husband. Mom and Pa Kent became a bit of a vigilante couple in a movie called Let Him Go. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard good things. I'm going to sit down and watch it at some point. Trust me on that. But I imagine Diane Lane. I imagined some other actors playing some when you're reading a book. So actually, I pictured Matt Bomer playing Adam in this scenario. Yeah, I pictured
Okay.
Matt Bomer from White Collar playing Adam, the leader of Tour de Frantic. You know, yeah,
Oh,
with facial hair too, not like clean shaven or anything, because he's been through stuff. He's been through
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So you got the scruff McGruff, facial hair, beard, that kind of deal going. You know what I
He's
mean?
definitely played
That's
that.
that's
He
what I thought.
played that man who dropped out of society, while in turn keeping it hidden from everybody that he was actually a KGB plant into the United States. So
Yeah, that's yeah, and I can totally see Matt Bomer pulling that off. He's such a great actor. For those of you just joining us, this is Nerdy Books, where we do spoiler-heavy discussions of a book we've had the chance to read, and we also have the writer on to answer your questions and all that good stuff. So a lot of people have been chiming in the chat, so I want to give them an opportunity here. Let's see here. Oh boy, Sarah says, "Be careful what you wish for, Charles." Laugh out loud. Maybe something you said earlier. I don't know. Brian Robin has a question for you, Charles. He says, "What or who are your biggest inspirations as a writer?"
um, while I grew up reading Dune, so Frank Herbert is a huge inspiration for me, and William F. Nolan, who wrote the Logan's Run books, is also a big inspiration. And unfortunately, I never got to meet either of those gentlemen, but their writing inspires me. Today's writers that inspire me, um, Jim Butcher inspires me. He's a very good writer. He's excellent with first person prose, where a lot of writers can't pull it off, and he certainly does. Um, as for writers that I know, Bobby Nash is a big inspiration for me. Um, and so is Brian K. Morris. That man's done amazing things for me, to inspire me to be a writer. So
Got to give the man who calls coffee covfefe some credit there. So well done, BKM. Brian K. Morris, wish you all the best, brother. And Brian Robin has another question for the incredible Charles F. Millhouse. He says, "What is your favorite thing about the pulp genre?"
that's a good question. My favorite thing is probably the mystery that you can invoke into your characters. Um, I enjoy writing, um, not telling the reader everything about the character, keeping some for surprises. Um, I, I I really enjoy world building, even though a lot of the stuff that I write in pulp is set in history. I do like to pull from history, but I also like to build my own little sub world around it. Some little things that may have happened in history that you don't know about. And there's actually a scene that I wrote in my new book that I'm doing now that kind of alters, doesn't alter history, but gives a different view of it when it comes to the beginning of the Second World War.
Ooh, fascinating. Wonderful stuff. And Clayton Merwin is here. He says, "Hello, Ryan and
Clayton,
Charles." Clayton Merwin,
you talk about artists,
yes.
and you talk about Jeffrey Hayes.
Hmm.
Clayton Merwin is an excellent artist. He's a great comic book artist. He's done some really good work for me over the years. Um, I can't say enough about this guy, and he's a super guy, and he's a good friend, and I think he would give you the shirt off his back if you asked for it. So he's a great guy.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Definitely top talent.
Yep, I've seen his drawings. I've seen his sketches. His artwork is, phew, just my goodness, so many different words you could describe it. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Very
It's
detailed.
ooh,
Very detailed.
yeah.
My
That's all.
favorite piece that he ever did for me was my Zane Carrington character.
Mhm.
And I use that quite often if I'm writing something with that character. I'll go back to that picture because it's the epitome of Zane Carrington is that picture.
Wow. Even better. Even better. Well done, Clayton Merwin, good sir. Brian Rahman has another question. He says, when did you realize you wanted to start Stormgate Press and work with other writers and artists?
Well, little history. First published in 1999, and of course back then there was social media wasn't like it is. There was no social media, and there was no connection to other writers. But as the print on demand started, and um, my writing started to pick up as far as sales and people recognizing what I was doing, I created Stormgate Press around 2010, maybe. Sounds about right. Right before I published the first Captain Hawklin book in 2012. And I knew that I wanted to get my name out there further. And the only way to do that was to publish other writers who were established. And some of the names I mentioned earlier. And I wanted their readers to come to what they were in and find things that I had written and other people had written that they hadn't seen, and try to push all of us a little bit further down the road when it comes to being recognized by readers. Of course, there was a stigma behind independent publishers for a long time, but I think that stigma is finally fading away, and people are realizing that independent writers or self-publishing or whatever you want to call it, there is definitely writers in they're not part of those big publishing houses, and we're being recognized now. And I think I wanted to be a part of that group and be recognized for what I do, and I also wanted them to be recognized for what they did.
Rock on, man. Rock on. I dig it. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Do greatly appreciate it. And let's see here. Sarah says method writing rather than method acting. I love it.
Yeah.
There she goes. Bobby Nash says, "Oh
Uh,
shucks,
I'll
thanks,
be up here
pal."
and I'll be writing fight scenes. You're welcome, Bobby. I'll be up here writing scenes, like a fight scene, and I'll actually get up and work out the fight scene to see if it's going to work. Or I'll grab one of my sons and say, "Here, help me choreograph this fight scene before I write it on paper."
All right. Getting the family involved. This is a team
Yeah,
effort. Okay.
definitely, yeah.
It's a team effort. I respect that. I respect that. And Brian Rodman reacts to something you mentioned earlier. He says, "Oh, Jim Butcher has my heart. Dresden is one of my favorite characters.
Mine
Bobby
too,
Nash and Brian K. Morris are both wonderful and talented men."
very much so.
Hmm, I would agree with that. I mean, Jim Butcher. What is it? Jim Butcher. I haven't read any of his novels, so I can't comment or speculate on his stuff yet.
You
Sorry.
must read the Dresden Files.
Oh, is that what? Okay, I figured he
If you,
would because when he said Dresden, I'm thinking to myself, is that Dresden Files or something
yeah,
else?
if you don't read them, I want you to listen to the audiobooks
Okay.
because James Marsters does
Yes,
the character. He's excellent.
I love that guy.
And yeah, so I've read the books a few times. I've listened to the audiobooks a few times.
Hmm.
Definitely one of my favorite things to read and look forward to is a Dresden book.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking, where's a good place to start with the Dresden Files or the Dresden books?
You know, the first book I read in the series was book 11. I got a stack of books and it was in those stack of books, and I had been wanting to read it. So I went ahead and started reading it. I thought if I could read this and understand the story,
Hmm.
then I'll go back and start from the beginning. By the time I was done with book 11, I had already ordered the first three books to start reading them. So it's definitely a series you should start reading from the beginning,
Oh, okay.
um, and it builds. By the time you get to the third book, it's hit its stride. And he even says that in an opening of the book that he knew by the time he got to the third book he had hit Dresden's stride.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I'll have to add that to my Amazon list when I get off this. When this show comes to a conclusion, I'll have to do some Amazon wish listing,
There you go.
which, it's a good place to make a list in
It
case
is.
anyone's wondering. It's a good place to list things that you hope to read or you're going to be reading soon, or if you want an audiobook, something like that. You can find many different things on the web, including that one, including Evolution Man and Evolution Man Year 2, which are both available on Amazon. Wait, shameless plugs.
There you go.
We love it to pieces. By the way, Brian Robin is just on fire with these questions. He's got another one apparently. He says,
Okay.
question for Charles: of all your characters, which one challenges you the most?
Hmm. Which one challenged me? Probably Serena Darkwood from the Serena Darkwood Adventures. This is my science fiction series. Mostly because it's written in third person, but it's all her point of view, and it's a woman. So I've got to keep in the back of my head that I'm writing for a woman, and not to get too carried away um, with making this woman so outrageously beautiful or so voluptuous, or I need to keep her even killed by remembering also she is a woman, but she is also a kick-ass woman. So she's probably my most challenging character. I've got to watch, and luckily my editor, which is my wife, she will let me know if I'm getting too far out of away from what the character should be. So that's probably my most challenging character.
All right, all right. I could. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then this is a general question. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to this. Sarah says, how many books are in the Dresden Files?
It's
Anybody know?
16 or 17 right now,
17. My gosh.
and then he's writing the newest one now. Originally, he conceived 25 books in the series.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's oh my goodness. That's I mean my goodness, that's way more than Hunger Games, more than Harry Potter, more than Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. I mean, gee
Yeah.
whiz. That's
He's
my God.
definitely done some really good world building with that series, and the characters. You'll get characters early in the series, and then they'll come back later in the series. And I just can't talk more about that series than I have, because it's a delight to read.
Hmm. And then Sarah gives us a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man tip. It's Cyber Monday, so I bet a lot of those books are on sale. Possibly.
Well,
Well,
maybe
maybe.
you never
I'll look.
know.
I'll look at it later. Thank you. It's worth a shot. You're right, Sarah. It's worth a shot. Brian Rahman says a let's see, fun fact or fun story about James Marsters, the actor. At the Superman celebration, he was there for Brainiac because he portrayed Brainiac on the hit TV series known as Smallville, which is my number one favorite show of all time. But I brought a Dresden book for him to sign, and he completely nerded out on me. Laugh out loud.
I can believe that. The first convention, and this is before I was setting up and selling
Hmm.
books, but I went to a convention he was at, and I've told this story before, but I went to the men's room, bellied up to the urinal. The door opens, and in comes James Marsters, and bellies up to the other one. And it's like, huh, what do you know? I'm peeing with Dresden. So
Oh goodness
I
gracious.
have met him several times. I've never told him that story, but I have met him several times at conventions and gotten stuff signed. And Jeffrey Hayes did. You can hire an actor or something to leave a message for someone,
Hmm.
and he did that for James Marsters when the first Pulp reality got um, won best anthology for the year,
Yeah.
and he sent me a big long message, and I still have it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And then Brian Rahman says, after sharing that story, all right, I'll shut up now. And he's laughing. So it's all right, Brian. Listen, I've met James Marsters too. I had him sign. I mean, granted, I didn't have anything personal for him to sign. He just signed an 8x10 of himself as Brainiac from the hit TV series Smallville. And he signed it. And then he said, he actually looked at me when I met him and he says, do you know how I got the role of Brainiac? I'm like, no. How did you get the role? He said, you want to know the story? I'm like, yeah, tell me a story. And then James tells me the story of how he got the role. And I just thought, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's really, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He's
If you
going
ever
to
get a
be
chance to meet James Marsters, please do.
he's going to be at the Lexington Comic Con next year, I think it's in like March or something. He's going to be there, and John Barrowman's going to be there, and they were in Torchwood together. So if you want to get something signed Torchwood related with both of them, they're both going to be there. But I think I'm going to take a couple Dresden books and have him sign them.
Yeah, hypothetically, if I were going and I had a chance to read Dresden up to that point, I would have him sign the Dresden books. So for James Marsters, anyway.
Right.
That's just me. Let's. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Brian Rahman says, "So and so at Dresden, an autobiography by Charles F. Millhouse." There you go. There you go. There's your autobiography. That's
I'll remember that.
Feel free to write that one down if you want. I don't know. I just don't write it down. Let's see. Sarah says it's still ongoing. Oh, that's library card reading. That's a lot of space, and I love reading physical copies rather than digital, if possible. According to Sarah, that's fine. I prefer physical copies of books anyway.
I would rather read a physical copy also, although I do have a lot of digital copies that way when I go on vacation, I can just take my library with me.
That's completely fair. A lot of people do that, and there's no shame in it either. Let's see here. Sarah goes on to say, if I'm saying this right, "Dear Lord, with the two Brians and I, no one is going to get a word in edgewise, laughing my so-and-so off." Gosh, this is me restraining myself, says Sarah. Goodness me, what is going on with you tonight? And then Bobby Nash goes on to say, "Meeting celebrities in a bathroom at cons. Oh, the stories we could tell."
And that's the truth.
Yeah. And let's see. Brian Rahman goes on to say, "I'll be getting James Marsters to sign a Bob skull at Lexington."
Nice.
Oh, okay.
I'll see you there, Brian.
Oh, it's okay. There you go. Both of you are going to be there. That's even better. Let's see here. Sarah goes on to say, "I like digital when I do what is known as beta reading, but yeah, I prefer physical." And that's fine. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in it either. It's fine. I got bookshelves full of books. And as we can see in Charles F. Millhouse's studio, he has a cajillion different types of books in his studio.
Yeah.
Which you can see in his background.
Yeah. And that's just what's in here. I've got novels and stuff in my bedroom, just shelves full of them. So,
oh my gosh. Look at this. See all that stuff? That's a plethora right there, ladies and gentlemen. It's what we call a plethora. Would you say I have a plethora?
It's about, well, I was telling you earlier, it's about almost 12,000 comics.
Jeez. 12,000. And here I am sitting here with 3 short boxes. As Matthew McConaughey would say to us, "Those are rookie numbers in this racket, man. You got to pump those numbers up." Sorry, can't do it because sometimes I just can't afford stuff. But hey, that happens to the better of us. Bobby Nash says he's got to bounce, but it's been a great show. Have yourselves a good night. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks,
we love you, man. You're the man. You're the man. And then, oops, Sarah goes on to say, "BKM is going to be jealous of that bromance after such a caressing hug." What is going on here, Sarah? What is going on?
Well, this is Sarah.
I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone with her right now. I don't know what's going on. But Sarah, we welcome you, and the person who may be watching or listening to this, we welcome you to Nerdy Books, where we're doing spoiler-heavy discussions with Charles F. Millhouse, talking about his latest book, which is known as Evolution Man Year 2. If you have any questions for Charles, by all means, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat, and don't forget to like and share this. Let everyone know. Speaking of questions from the audience, Brian Rahman has another one.
All right.
Who are your top 5 favorite comic book creators? That's
a hard one. George Perez is my favorite artist. Marv Wolfman is one of my favorite writers. Mike Donato Jr. Need 2 more. That's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. Just turn around here and look. I can't think of 2 more because there's so many. Stan Lee's coming in my head, and Jack Kirby's coming in there, and Roy Thomas, and just so many. I mean, there's just so many.
There's a lot.
And and that kind of changes. I'll read stuff and go, well, this is my favorite artist is always going to be George Perez. But I'll be reading something. I'll go, well, this guy's my favorite writer now. And then next week it'll be somebody else. It constantly changes. And I read a lot of stuff. And I'm not one of those kind of collectors that when they buy the books, they put them in a bag and put them away. I actually read the comic. Depends on how much I paid for it. Let's go back and state that.
Okay.
But a lot of the common stuff that I'll read them before I put them in bags and put them away, because those creators took time to create those stories. They should at least be read, not just put in a bag and put away and forgotten. And then I do pull a lot of stuff out and go through a lot of stuff. And I actually have a TikTok account that I do just for my comics, and I shoot a lot of my stuff for TikTok and put it on there. So, because I just like showing my stuff off, basically, my comic book stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and they're great videos. I mean, and you also get a chance to share some of your experiences you've had at conventions and the people who have come to your table and buy your books,
Right.
which is great. Every time I see those pictures, I'm thinking, man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall when this is happening. Because oh my gosh, when someone buys a book and they're so excited about it, like that's amazing.
It is.
Love
And my wife says my favorite part is signing the books, and that's probably true. But I also like meeting the people that come to my tables, and I've had a lot of repeat people who come back looking for new things to read of mine, which is always a big thrill.
Yeah, that's there you go. There you go. And let's see here. I'm trying to. Sarah says, "Whoa, I've been having to sell my collection. Dang it." Gotta do what you gotta do, Sarah.
Yep.
She says, "Right? It's me, random. Yes, I've been doing that." And then she says, "I've been throwing inside or outside jokes. Whoops, haha." Back to topic. She says, "Goodness gracious." Uh, Sarah, what are we going to do with you? By the way, Brian Rodman goes on to say, Ryan, thank you for humoring my questions. I miss being a host and asking all these questions with talented folks such as you and Charles. We miss you, Brian.
Definitely.
We miss you being on set and geeking out with us about our favorite stuff. Because Lord knows you can go on for hours, Brian. You and I have had conversations about this before, whether it's about I'm Batman, whether it's about Cowabunga dudes, because you got that giant TMNT poster on your wall. Which is awesome, by the way. I have that same poster. I just have it as an 11 by 17 because, I can't fit everything on the walls. But I have portfolios to keep all that stuff in so it doesn't get ruined. They're called portfolios, people. Buy yourself one. It keeps your collector's items safe and clean. So there's another shameless plug. By the way, Cartoon Commotion is in the building. He says, hiya, homies. What's up tonight?
Hello.
Cartoon Commotion, that would be Cade. Cade, good to see you. And Charles is happy to see you too, Cade. Sarah says there's a book from Charles. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. Yeah, no, we don't. And yes, Ramen on Live is being very much missed, but understood. Yeah, that is very true. And then Brian Ramen goes on to say, that is true. I can talk entirely too much. It's okay, man. I'm not. Do I look upset to you? Does Charles look upset to you? We're not upset. If you want to talk to us all night, feel free. We're used to it by now.
Yeah.
Because we've known each other for what? About 2 years now? I think Charles, you, myself, the Nevermorians, in other words, we've known each other for, gosh, probably 3 years now.
For a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, because we met during the lockdown.
Right.
So I guess we've been friends for almost, what is it, 3 years? 4 years? Who's doing the math?
Going on 4 years. Yeah.
Gosh, can you believe how time flies when you're having fun?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to me. What else is amazing? We hope you enjoying this episode of Nerdy Books. Charles F. Millhouse, I want to thank you for being here with us and talking about the greatness that is specifically Evolution Man Year 2. So if a person watching or listening to this, and oh my gosh, just when you know what, Charles, just when you and I thought we were out, Brian Rodman pulls us back in. So the question is, who is your favorite Brian to work with, and why is it me?
Oh, that's asking for trouble right there.
In other words, Charles has decided not to respectfully answer the question. That's fine. But if the person watching or listening to this episode of Nerdy Books wants to know more about you and the incredible things that you're doing with Evolution Man and beyond, where can they follow you on social media, Charles F. Millhouse?
Well, I'm on, like I said, I'm on TikTok. I have a writer's account. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I've left Twitter or X. I just left it, and I don't miss it at all, to tell you the truth. But you can find me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all under the username of Writer Millhouse. Riter, Millhouse. That's the easiest way to find me. And plus, you can find me on stormgatepress.com or choosetheadventure.net. That's the Captain Hawklin official site.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Charles F. Millhouse, thank you so much for being here with us, kind sir. Congratulations on Evolution Man Year 2. Look forward to Evolution Man Year 3.
That's in the planning stage, where you had said Point Break for Year 2. For Year 3, kind of think of Man from U.N.C.L.E. kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. I saw the movie.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the movie was really good, and that's kind of what I'm going to be pitting it kind of like that movie. So,
yeah, okay, sounds like a plan. Look forward to it. Thank you so much, kind sir, for being here with us. Do greatly appreciate it. My name is Ryan. You can follow me at Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Also, make sure you're following us at And I Quote channel. Yes, we have done a bit of a change, a bit of a reboot, a soft brand reboot, if you will. We are known as And I Quote on all our social media channels, so make sure you're following us there. All kinds of great stuff is coming your way. The Nerdy Cantina movie watch along. Let's see here. We also have the Meaning of Fandom. All your favorite shows are still going to be here on this channel. We're just going to be under the And I Quote umbrella, since And I Quote is the flagship show where we get the opportunity to speak with content creators from all over the globe, and we take your questions. So we're known as And I Quote channel. Tell your friends about it. Tell everybody about us. And also, I want to let you know, you can support the And I Quote channel. Now, you can do, you're always welcome to support us, whether you're liking, commenting, or sharing our videos, but you can support the show by sparing a slice while supporting content creators. We have a Buy Me a Pizza link now, Charles and company. Yes, we have a Buy Me a Pizza. So buy me a coffee? Yeah, but we like Buy Me a Pizza, because if the Ninja Turtles like pizza, so do we. So you can support the show by clicking on the link in our bio on my link tree. Buy Me a Pizza. You can support the show that way. Don't feel free to do any amount you desire. It's up to you. You can do that now. Also, I want to let you know, we got And I Quote merch. We got And I Quote merch. Link is in our bio. We got shirts. We got hoodies. We got stickers. We got postcards. We have coffee mugs. We have all kinds of incredible things. And I Quote merch. Link is in the bio. They're all available right now. Everything is on sale because it's been a holiday weekend. Cyber Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Just throwing that out there. So there you go. Also, Nerdy Cantina, where we geek out about all things Star Wars, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That is what's going to happen on Tuesday nights. We geek out about all things Star Wars. We have incredible special guests, and it's a lot of fun. We hope you join us there. So once again, thank you for joining us for this episode of Nerdy Books. Like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified when our videos go live or they go up. And remember, life is better when reading. Take a look.
Choose high-flying action. Choose death-defying escapes. Choose spine-tingling thrills. Choose nail-biting intrigue. Now's your chance to choose the adventure. The Captain Hawklin Adventures. Available on Amazon.com. You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics. When the look of your book matters to you.
All right, I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.